I want to start this video out by saying that this isn't some crazy defense of Trump, because things will get more expensive. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what I want. It doesn't matter how bad 2024 was. Things are going to get more expensive. The electoral process just happened where they finalize and actually count the vote. And since Kamala Harris is vice president, it's her job to then finalize the tally and announce who actually won the presidency. That just happened. That was yesterday or the day before, just a couple days ago. This week it happened. It's more of a formality than anything. We already knew that process since the states had already reported, and I'm sure there was Associated Press or whatever that actually called the race for Trump way back in November. But things are going to get more expensive. No matter which side you feign to support, things are going to definitely get more expensive. I remember just recently in one of my videos, someone in the comments, I don't want to point them out, called me out for my criticisms of 2024 and called me out for my criticisms of Bidenomics. And they say, well, you just wait for Trumponomics. Well, there was no Trumponomics. That's not a term. No one called it that, even back in 2019, where I was making pretty good money. I even did okay during COVID, to be completely honest. Trumponomics wasn't a term. It was just back to the basics, back to reinvigorating some of the American economy and some of the American workforce. Even you could look at the news. Detroit had even started to make a little bit of a turnaround in terms of being able to produce cars again. This is kind of the path that we were going down until obviously everyone knows COVID happened in early 2020 and lasted for 2 years. And for some people, COVID's still happening for some people. And I feel bad for you. But for the rest of us, it was about, I think on average, like maybe a year and a half. During COVID, I did okay. It was more so the coming out of COVID where things started to open up again. And I personally found myself without a job to return to and had to make some changes and found a job and start that whole process over again. It's a long story. Maybe we'll go into it a different time, but just kind of give you an idea of where I'm at. The thing is, my comment about criticizing 2024 wasn't to highlight my hatred of Joe Biden or anything like that. No, I actually kind of like the guy. And when you hear him speak, and when he's not being all political, but just being himself, like, which is, he's kind of an a-hole, which, and he's a funny dude too. I think that if I were to actually sit and chill with Joe Biden, I think I would actually like him. I don't really have anything personally against him. I just think that he's one of those people that I've mentioned before, where he's an economic leech. I mean, just because I say you're an economic leech doesn't mean I think that you're a bad person. It just means that I don't approve of your actions. The rest of us out here work on average 9 to 5. I personally work 8 to 6 at my day job, and then I work even more so after that just to make all this happen. And so I don't necessarily enjoy people who spend their entire life producing nothing in Congress or in Senate, mostly, in the House of Reps or Senate and Congress in general. They're my biggest gripes. I don't like them. I don't particularly enjoy what they do, seeing as how they take half a year off, or they're in session, 100 and something days a year actually working, but then they spend a lot of their time fundraising for the next election. And it's just, how can you say that you're in it for the people when that's what you spend your time doing? Back to Biden. I don't hate Biden. I don't hate him. I don't hate the fact that he basically hid his dementia for years and years. I don't hate that at all. I think it just comes part of the process when you are vying for power. And I don't really like super power hungry people, but I realize that maybe that's a mistake within myself for not being as grimy as some of these people. Once again, not saying I hate Biden. What I don't like is someone who brags about how great the economy currently is when I could barely afford food, and when eviction's been filed on my behalf more than 3 times in one calendar year. And not because I don't get up and go to work, not because I don't try my hardest. It's because there's a slowdown and there's not enough work coming in, and I'm barely making ends meet. And then you get up on TV and in front of a camera and say, the economy's great. It's never been better. It's the best numbers of our lives. These lies that we all know that we heard, and that we all know what we felt when we heard them, when they say things like we've added this many jobs to the economy, and this inflation is only transitory, when they just bold-faced lie to you and I, and you feel it not only in your soul, but in your pocket where it hurts even more. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And then you have those people who live on the coastal states who gaslight themselves into thinking that this is okay. Tell me, how do you like your $3,000 rent for your studio apartment? California guys? New York guys? Do you like that? I don't. That's why I live where I live. I live in the middle of America where things are a little bit more affordable. And my rent was very stable. I mean, it went up 15, 20% over the last 3-4 years, maybe a little bit more, 25%. We'll say it's 25%. I got to look at the numbers. My rent was pretty stable. And that's because I've been in the same place for 7 years. And maybe if a lot of you stayed in the same place, maybe your rent was stable, but there were talks of raising it. And I went to my landlord and I negotiated with him, say, hey, listen, what you're asking for is unaffordable. This is what I can do. Can we make that number work? I even got a roommate. For a lot of us, that is a solution. You can negotiate and actually speak and have a good relationship with your landlord or your product, your rental management representative, and let them know exactly what's going on. Say, hey, this is just unaffordable. I can't do it that way. Can we essentially do this instead? I mean, negotiate, talk to people, right? They're people too at the end of the day. But back to Biden. What I didn't like was the gaslighting and going off of a system that clearly wasn't working. I mean, I even felt the same way in 2020. And we're not talking about COVID. We're talking about Trump's slogan when he said, keep America great. That's what he ran under, keep America great. And I'm like, it's still not great. Like, I'm not one of those people who say it never was great. I'm just saying, like, the goal that you had set, that you had promised before you ran in 2016 hadn't been met. So how can you say keep it great if we hadn't reached great status yet? But we were slowly moving in the direction, I think, that he was trying to put us in, but I don't think it was great again. So then therefore you couldn't keep it great. I mean, technically you couldn't say make America great again the second time. So make America great again. I mean, it was just a really crappy campaign all the way around. He should have kept his promises the first time. So this is in no way absolutely a defense of Trump. I'm just saying you get ready for the next round of gaslighting, okay? Where now suddenly the things that they were lying to us about are now suddenly true now, when they have been true for the past 4 years. And I would even argue longer, where we've been deficit spending and getting ourselves more into more and more debt and printing the money, and inflation's just been going crazy. And it's been going that way for quite some time, but everyone ignored it because the stock market was okay. And I'm going to take that second to kind of explain a little bit about what happened in 2008. Now, I was very young, and I'm not a Joe Biden supporter. I'm not an Obama supporter. I'm not a Democrat, and I don't even consider myself a Republican. But one thing that I definitely do remember, I was a lot younger when that happened, was I didn't feel right about a private company taking public funds, being bailed out, essentially. I say let them fail. And we're going to be facing a very similar situation here again with companies like GM and Stellantis doing ridiculous things during COVID and after, making us pay those crazy inflated prices. And then when they overproduce something that's not selling, now they're going to turn to us again with their hand out and ask us to once again save them. I swear, if Trump at all in any way, shape, or form bails these companies out for their mistakes, I personally will protest against him. That's wrong on every level. I say let them fail. Okay? When I fail, when I don't make enough money to keep the lights on, my lights are off. And no one's here to clean up my mess. So why is it that these companies, these multi-billion-dollar companies, are too big to fail? I say let them fail. Let another company come in, buy up the rights to use the name Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram and make a better version of the company. Dodge just made an EV. They definitely need to fail. You need to fail. You're begging to fail. And that's what I'm talking about. You get ready for the next round of gaslighting, okay? They told us it didn't exist before, and then they say, okay, well, it is happening, but not as bad as you think. And then they say, okay, it is happening, but it's a good thing, and now they don't care. So the next thing that's going to happen down this list, now I'm talking about more so in the mainstream media and maybe even social media companies, they're going to confirm that inflation's at an all-time high, things are completely unaffordable, and people are starving in the streets. That's what they're going to confirm. Things that you and I have known, especially in 2024, they're now going to announce it, making some like it's this new recent development because this new person's in office as a scapegoat. I don't think Trump's 100% responsible for turning around the economy in 2016 and making things better. That was a combined effort of things, mostly money printing. I don't think that was a good thing. I think we should have suffered a bit more in 2016 so that way by 2026, things are better. But no, instead we kick the can down the road. Now we're all going to suffer now in 2025. Okay, because now we're trying to actually make things better, get out there and lose the weight essentially and work it out. And it's going to hurt. Okay, here's something that I predict that's going to happen. And I don't know, timestamp this video, mark it, save it to your favorites. I don't know what you got to do, but you're going to come back to this. I'm telling you exactly what's going to happen. Okay, I am no Nostradamus. I'm not this. I can't see into the future, but I just know the pattern of these people. Okay, and I'm not just talking about the corporate elites in the media. I'm talking about companies. Okay, prices are sticky. Okay, all the inflation we got up to this point, especially in the last 2 years, is going to hit us hard because now on top of it, we're going to have tariffs. Okay, and you're going to hear them demonize tariffs. I don't think that tariffs are going to be the end all be all, but it may be a solution to some of the issues with trade deficits that we have in other countries. But tariffs are not going to be the end all be all. Okay, let me explain. The commodities, those will come down in price over time. But you're going to see prices on everyday items remain sticky. Gas will be cheaper, which will help drive down the shipping costs of a lot of these items. So I don't know, let's say you wanted a PS5 Pro, which I don't know why you want that, but let's say you want a PS5 Pro. It's like $600, $700, whatever the cost is. I don't know, but we're going to agree on a price just for the sake of argument. It's $600 as it currently stands, and it's a mass-produced product. So that is the price for the mass-produced product. Currently, we still have to pay for that item to be shipped from overseas because it's not made here, and then shipped all over the country, which then all adds that price, which makes that price remain that price. Okay, and this is not going to be a perfect one-to-one example. Then, what can then happen is once we hit a specific production number of that item, let's say we're overproducing, so now demand is slowed on the item, and gas is cheaper, they can then begin to offer the expected retail dollar to be a little bit cheaper. And it's only going to be a little bit cheaper, just a little bit cheaper. The same thing happens for our food, our clothing, medicines. I mean, anything that you buy, especially from a retail store, the price to receive the item is built into the price of the item. They have a specific number and calculation that they run every single time to determine what that final price will be. That's going to come down. But prices remain sticky. Like I said, they're going to take full advantage of the price of the fact that they now have a cheaper product. they order things on minimum order quantities, or MOQs for those who are in the industry. They're going to say, okay, we were paying 50 cents per unit before, plus shipping, which then brought our total price up to 81 cents per unit. Now that gas has come down, we can get that shipped to us at approximately 64 cents a unit, but we're not going to lower the price because you and I are used to paying the inflated price. And so they have no incentive to lower that price until competition comes in. Okay, let me see if I can break this down very, very quickly for you. All the fast food restaurants are competing with each other. They want our dollars to eat, and they want our dollars and they're going to exchange that for food. Okay, real simple. I'm going to make this real simple. McDonald's currently has their, what used to be dollar menu is now like almost $3. Okay. No one's going to introduce a dollar menu again until someone introduces a dollar menu again. Okay. McDonald's is going to compete with Burger King, Taco Bell, Wendy's, all things within the same price point. And until someone cracks and says, okay, meat is cheaper now because it's cheaper to get to me. The raw toppings are going to be cheaper now. Ketchup, buns, whatever. Everything else is now a little bit cheaper. And now I want to beat McDonald's. Okay. I want to beat how many sandwiches they're selling. I want to beat their numbers. So I'm going to lower my price and I'm going to advertise it on a sale. It can be a loss leading item. It can be like when they had the dollar 10-piece chicken nuggets at Burger King. They could offer that item at a loss to then bring you into the store and then lower all their prices on their menu by even 5 to 7%. And McDonald's would then be forced to copy them to then lower their prices a bit to be more competitive. I mean, obviously, this is in a perfect world, and the world's not perfect, but if you understand what I'm saying, that's how you get a lower price. Prices otherwise are going to remain sticky. They're not permanent, but they're going to be sticky. It's less subject to change, if you understand what I'm saying. As long as we continue to insist on not making things here, for the short term, for the long term, for any term, we're going to suffer. Okay, you can't get by on just everyone trading services with each other. Okay, there needs to be something produced, something that stays around of value that people need and want in order for our economy to climb out of this. Okay, there's no way that we're going to continue to just say, hey, I'm going to trade my tax services for your psychology services. These aren't real things. Okay. These aren't a real product. This is something that someone can say, okay, I can introduce software to kind of help there and alleviate some of that pain. I can suffer in silence because it's absolutely not needed. But food is something we absolutely need. And until we are producing, why the heck are we not producing 90 to 100% of our food here? Just why? Why not? America's a big country. I mean, we touch coast to coast, Pacific to Atlantic, Atlantic to Pacific. Like, why don't we produce everything here? I'm so confused by that. Yeah, there's some things that we can't make here, like avocados. But, I mean, maple syrup. Okay, sure, fine. I'm sure if you were to dig into it, you can find tons of examples of things that we absolutely can't grow here. But for the most standard American diet, if you're going to eat relatively lean and healthy, you're going to just eat some steak, maybe some chicken, some green vegetables. Why can't we just grow that here? Why are we ordering this out? That makes no sense. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I don't know. Clothes, textiles. Why are we getting it from China? To get this t-shirt's made in China. Probably not a good idea to talk about that right now. But it doesn't matter. Why don't we make our clothes here? Why don't we make our food here? Why don't we make our medicines here? There was the biggest gaslight that I saw on CNN. This was maybe a few months ago, but they were like, if Trump's elected and he introduces tariffs, your clothes, your food, and your medicine will be more expensive. And I'm like, well, why? And not because I don't understand how tariffs work, but because it's like, why don't we just make that stuff here? It's the wrong why. You think I'm asking why the tariff? I'm saying why the need for it, right? I could understand us maybe not producing, I don't know, rice here, okay, we don't need to produce rice here because it requires a very special environment, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sure. Maybe we don't need to produce all lithium-ion batteries here, okay? I get it. There are things that we just can't get here because it's not here. But the things that occur naturally here, the things that we can force to occur naturally here, cash crops, why don't we make them here? Are we as Americans too good for these jobs? I don't understand that mindset. And then it completely ignores the other side of the equation, okay? The other side of the equation is this. We have relied so heavily on other countries, Indonesia, China, India, the Philippines, Mexico, and that has not only helped us make the world a smaller place, which is a good thing, but it also makes us pretty naive to think that the things that we absolutely need, we can always get from a different place. Do you not remember when there was a global shutdown in the Suez Canal during COVID? All these little other things that absolutely drove our global shipping system to a grinding halt. That's just a small example. What about a big example? What about if there was a war? Okay, not this little war or this little thing that we do when we proxy war. No, I'm talking about a real war like we had in the 30s and 40s. What if there's a war of that scale? Can we then rely on our allies to produce the things that they say that they're going to produce that we absolutely need? No. You and I would then be forced to make freedom gardens and go outside and plant our own tomatoes because we're starving. Because we didn't have the foresight to make all our food here. We should make 90% of our food here. I don't think America's completely 100% uninvadable, but it's been pretty good so far. So maybe we should make our stuff here so we can kind of shore up ourselves against domestic issues. Do we really think that we're immune to war? It's just really dumb to think that we are. I think the facade of society and our four walls that surround us every single day has made us weak. It's made us think that the world's this nice place. And it ought to be a nice place. I agree. As long as we treat each other with at least a little bit of decency, it would be a nice place. But it's not. The world is not a nice place. Okay, we are nothing but animals that can recognize our reflection. And we have this ability to speak. We have convinced ourselves that the world is this nice, static, clean place as long as everyone thinks just like you and I, and we want to be kind to each other. The world's a jungle out there, okay? And the only thing that separates us from the barbarians that came before were laws. In these common laws, I think it's called English common law, there's the thing that kind of separated us from becoming barbarians. It doesn't stop everybody, though. You do realize that, right? There are several places in Africa and the Middle East and Asia where they don't care about what we care about here. They don't have our same values here. And those places can be absolutely barbaric and absolutely dangerous. You do realize that, right? It's even in South America. It's closer than you think. You have gotten so used to just relative safety that you don't think that the world is not a good place. It's a terrible place out there. Think about it. What stops us from slaughtering our neighbors and drinking their blood? I can tell you what it is. It's a silent agreement between all parties that we're going to play by the rules. And it's also because we're not starving. If you're starving, no running water, no electricity, no heat in the cold, it will be T-minus 30 days before everyone's completely, what's that movie, plaguing each other? No, not the plague. Purge. It's going to be T-minus 30 days before people are purging each other. That's real human nature, okay? That's the truth. We had a silent agreement that everyone's going to play by the rules. But the elites, they don't play by the rules, okay? These are economic leeches. And they don't play by the rules because they think they're better than us. They think there are betters. And as a result, things are going to get more expensive. Not only the tariffs, but the inflation and the hyperinflation and people trying to vote their salaries higher and spend your money on God knows what else is happening some other place in the world because they need to keep promises because they have donors. You wouldn't know what that's like. Our simple minds couldn't possibly comprehend the complexities of our elites in Congress or the bureaucrats. We couldn't quite understand what's going on in their heads. So we just need to keep quiet, eat the bug paste, live in the pod, and keep paying our taxes. I'm telling you right now, overnight, the gaslighting from the media is going to just spark. They're trying it now, but he's not in office yet, so they can't blame him for it 100%. But they're not gonna not try, right? And this is, once again, this is not some crazy defense of Trump. He's got plenty of things to be mad at him for, and he's an uncouth person. But I can tell you right now, if I were a billionaire who spent his life making money and making deals, I'd probably be kind of an a-hole too, like just kind of the way he is. Just says how he feels it, and they hate him. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but they hate him because of that one mask off moment that happened in front of everybody. When he was debating Hillary way back when, I think it was in 2016. And she said that he takes these tax cuts so he doesn't have to pay income tax. And he said, I do. And all your friends and all your donors do too. And you can look up the clip. I don't have to recap it. It's an iconic clip. But basically it was a mask off moment that shows that they're different from us. They're not us. They're not like us. They don't have to wake up every day, punch a clock. They don't have to worry about paying for anything. They don't even have to worry about paying taxes. But we do. They like to tax me half my money because I made a bonus. And that's what it ended up being. When you make a bonus or you work overtime, they tax you higher than what they normally would tax you because, I don't know, F you. You're healthy. I don't know. Good job on making that extra money for me, buddy. Can I get back at it? What? But they have these loopholes that they can use. And Trump just said it. And I mean, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I mean, I respect the fact that he would say it. Just remember, they told us, best numbers of our lives. The stock market's at an all-time high. Inflation's only transitory. People, just don't panic. It's just transitory. We'll get through this. It's going to recover like this. It's going to be a K-shape, I don't know, whatever shape recovery that they were talking about. Shrinkflation, it's not inflation to blame, it's shrinkflation to blame. What about a combination of both? What about assuming both are wrong? What about assuming that you guys are going to print up all the money to then inflate the currency to make it valueless, and then at the same time the companies are going to produce less product for more money? What about both? Because that seems like that's what happened. And they said the Biden-Harris campaign added whatever million jobs to the economy overnight. They did this overnight. And now you watch. Because the new gaslight is going to start. Do you not remember when Kamala Harris, when she was running just recently, she said there's nothing different that she would do in her presidency that was already done under Biden-Harris? That's where she lost my vote, because I was like, yo, 2024 has been terrible. You mean to tell me you're going to just do 2024 part 2, part 3, 2024 part 2 electric boogaloo? Let's just do it all over again. The exact same way we did it before, but let's just keep doing it. Do it the same way. Run it back. I'm good. That's where she lost my vote. I was more so interested in RFK. I didn't even hate DeSantis as an option, to be honest. And then Vivek, I really liked him at that time. And then Elon said some really stupid stuff recently, but this is not a political channel. Okay. It's hard for me to ignore the pain and suffering that's happening on this side when I see just the crazy amounts of ridiculousness happening on their side. It's like the Hunger Games out here. They got their big old nice fancy clothes or stupid haircuts, and they parade around as our betters while we over here and we eat slop and we suffer and we starve and we're sent to battle out against each other. That's exactly what's happening. They want me to worry about my color, my skin is how it's different from your color of skin. We need to kill each other. We're going to just sit there and just let them keep doing this to us. Remember, this is not a defense of Trump. But I do kind of like some of the stuff he's saying. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Over the past 50 or so years, we've been doing the same thing over and over again and saying that America's a great place. America's the best place in the world. We're going to get better. We're going to do better. Everybody, there's a place for everybody. We've been doing this for 50 years. Trump's opinions might be radical, but they're different. And I'm not going to say let's just ride this train to the end, because I will surely call them out when I'm like, nah, I don't agree with that. That's craziness. No, stop. Pump the brakes. Let's not do that. But in this case, with the tariffs, it's bad already. Okay. Yeah, it's going to increase some prices. Some prices are going to remain sticky, and some people are going to take advantage of the fact that there's a tariff. I'm telling you that right now. But if it means that we're going to bring some manufacturing back to the country, where we can, man, can you imagine if we had right to work laws, manufacturing back in the country, a strong, I'm not necessarily a big supporter of unions, but we had a strong like union where we looked out for each other. And then last but not least, we had right to repair. That would be a really crazy world right there. I would be very happy with that. If that's what ended up being the long-term solution to all this, right to repair our own stuff. We've done it that way for like 50 years. We printed the money. We did all the deficit spending. We made friends with people overseas by bribing them. Okay, we did all that. We shipped all the jobs overseas. And we, as a result, in the United States, specialize in nothing anymore. We used to export culture to the world. And now, South Korea and Japan beat us in culturally. Our comic books are garbage. Our TV shows are garbage. Our movies are terrible. America's on life support, people. At least now, we somewhat have someone with a right state of mind in office, and I don't mean Trump. I'm not talking about Trump. I like the guy because he's just brash and kind of just says it as it is. I'm like, hey, if that gets these people to like go psychotic, I kind of like that a little bit. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about RFK. They really dislike this guy for some reason. And if he's gonna help us get this food situation straight, like at least I can be happy with us doing that. Can we stop calcifying our brains with the fluoride in the water? Can we do that? Can we stop eating and having all these things in our food that's giving everybody cancer and that's killing everybody? Why is it that if you look at videos from 50, 60 years ago, everybody's fit and skinny and just, they look great. And you look at us now and we're the fattest country in the world. And this is not a health channel. I'm just saying, just think about it. This is how they want us to be. This is the new human that they're making. Someone who is docile, pays their taxes, is a slave to dopamine. That's what they want from you and me. And I'm telling you, I'm done. I'm done with it. I don't want nothing to do with their agenda. If it means I got to go out into the woods with me and mine and carve something out of nothing, then I'm going to go out to the woods with me and mine. I'm going to carve something out of nothing. They don't like when we do that, but I'm going to try.